Okay, so all right. So today we're going to be talking about children and the media. For this recording, we couldn't find Joe, so it's just going to be me and Yago. So if we feel like we are missing a little bit, that's why. Basically, we wanted to kind of talk a little bit about um, children in the media and the effects, both positive and negative. We both have done a lot of research as far as just the things that we've studied, and we've learned a lot about the good things that come with giving children um, iPads and Kindles and things of that nature, just the screen time things. But there is also a lot of negative things. And so we wanted to talk a little about that today.
And then like we have all been through situations where like we're on someone's house and then that person's kids are just on their phones and iPads at the dining table and just um watching stuff on YouTube and or wherever. Um I had always a concern about like what kind of what kind of future, what kind of impact that kind of stuff had on children. And we were able to make some research throughout the semester about this. So the first thing that we need to account for is device accessibility, right? We live in a place where the average start age of children phone usage is 6 months old, and that's 6 months of life old. So that's really early for someone to start using a phone, right? And that same research shows that the active user age average it starts at 2.5 to 3 years old to become active device users. Um, the same research showed that 25.7% of children have used multiple devices simultaneously. This raises important questions as to um, what kind of reward system the children are being left with so many stimulus. And we're going to talk about that a little bit further.
Yeah, so after exploring these topics a little bit more, it's pretty clear that the role of parents and educators is more crucial than ever, because they're on the front lines of shaping how children interact with each other and their parents, like just how they interact in general. Um, it's very important that they know what they can and can't, or not can't do necessarily, but what they can do to help. Um, in a world where screens are a way that we cope and the way that we spend our free time, and often the preferred activity, we know that parents and educators can definitely support young minds. Um, and so we're going to kind of explore that next. I'm pretty sure that was Joe's part. And so we can kind of just chat about it. But what do you think is the best way to balance screen time and media use?
Well, I feel like doing specific times for for media usage is something that helps because it establishes a routine, and children know there's a time to start and there's a time to finish. I personally see with the children, and I'm constantly in contact with like nieces and nephews, that the most difficult part about having them watch cartoons and other videos is to make them stop doing it when it's time to stop because they're so entertained and they like it so much that they just don't want to stop at the time that we need them to stop, right? And then those are problems. But I feel like if parents establish a routine for children, that will be easier to be respected and therefore to be controlled as well.
Yeah. Um, I think one of the things that Joe wanted to talk about was kind of the idea of having age appropriate content. Like, what was it, like 6 months or something, like no screens, and then you can kind of slowly start introducing that, or was that a year? I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of educational media that children and preteens, like the whole age of growing up, there's a lot of good media that is age appropriate, like Sesame Street or the PBS channels. Like they're very beneficial to the development of the brain and of just the child in general. And I think it's really important that parents know that they can use that as a tool to kind of help them learn.
About that,
Um,
Tyler,
yes.
let me just touch a point on that real quick. So, children, they don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex in the brain is the area right behind the forehead, and that and it finishes developing at the age of 25 or so, and then children don't like their prefrontal cortex is brand new, right? And that's the area in the brain where where people control, decision making, critical thinking. They control, evaluation of cause and effect, right? This underdevelopment of a prefrontal cortex when it comes to watching the cartoons, and this is based on research, makes the children think the cartoons that is the reality they live in.
Mhm.
So in terms of what parents can do to make this for their benefits, is what kind of reality do they want their children to live in, right? And that's why children start acting out liking the cartoon so much after they start watching. They cry
Mhm.
like in the cartoons, they act like in the cartoons in several ways. And then uh, uh, because of that, cartoons also bring many benefits in terms of teaching communication skills and social skills as well. But of course, it will always depend on what the children are watching, right? And
Yeah.
then now speaking of this slide right here, it's important to understand the several cognitive functions of a human brain, especially a young child. And we all have something called a reward system, right? Our body produces transmitters, that make us feel certain pleasures, right? And those are meant to keep us alive. For example, having sexual intimacy, is pleasurable and releases tons of several neurotransmitters because we need to maintain and continue with the species, right? And this is something that is coded within all of us. Or eating, for example, eating is so pleasurable because we need to eat to survive, right? And then the body has learned that things that bring us pleasure keep us alive. That's how we have maintained for several years, right? Now, there's this thing called dopamine, which is one of the several neurotransmitters we have. Um, and and the thing is, our reward system is very sensitive. As a matter of fact, there's a book called Dopamine Nation, and we talked about it, right? You have also read it.
Mhm.
And by Anne Lamb, she is a PhD, and she talks about how our reward system was supposed to be a cacti, but we live in a swamp where the water is dopamine. So that's a lot more dopamine than we need, right? And one thing about dopamine is that the more we need, more we want. So we will never want to maintain that certain level of dopamine. And something dangerous about cartoons is that blast of dopamine it brings, right? With 3D images, vibrant colors, multiple stimulus, right? I've all seen videos where there's multiple videos happening on the same screen. And and this is all stimulus in access, right? And what is the problem with this? Why is this important? Um, when you find pleasure doing an activity and you train your reward system that you will release a lot of dopamine when you watch cartoons, that will not happen when you do other less interest activities like running or like playing outside or making new friends or risking your life with some adrenaline like children do sometimes, you know. It, the problem with this is that children will tend to find less pleasures in less interesting activities, which can, in fact, negatively impact their development in the future.
Yeah,
But parents can
unfortunately.
help.
Sorry, what?
But parents can help.
Parents can help. Is that my part?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, parents can definitely help. There's a lot of things that parents can do. I think the first thing is just being um, aware of the things that, that your kids are watching or the things your kids are doing. And even before that, probably just looking into things like this, like the dopamine nation and looking into studies like that. I know me and my husband have talked a lot about that because he read the Dopamine Nation book, and we don't really know what we're going to do with our kids, but we really want them to have like the utmost amount of potential, and we want them to learn and grow. And just because, you know, it might be a little bit tricky now. I feel like, especially this generation that grew up with media and screen time and everything like that, we know how we want to now raise our children because we're a little more cautious about it. We've had the addiction to TikTok and Instagram Reels, and we don't want that for our kids. And so, to wrap up, we just wanted to once again just say that we've seen how media profoundly influences children's cognitive development, social skills, and emotional well being. By understanding these impacts, parents and educators can play a crucial role in guiding media consumption. Through setting boundaries, promoting balanced media tools, and integrating media literacy into education, we can ensure that children benefit from media while minimizing its risks. Ultimately, it's about creating a healthy media environment that fosters learning, creativity, and emotional growth. Thank you to everyone that joined us today, and we hope that we can all continue to make informed choices for our children's media experience.
Very
All
nice.
right.
Well, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope we have contributed with some knowledge that will make parents think about it and help their children better so they can have a better future themselves.
Amen.
Yeah. After all, that's what parenthood is all about, right?
Hmm. Definitely. Not that
All
I'm
right.
a parent, but
All right. Thank you for watching. Bye.